young people in the UK have, in the past, tended to leave home earlier than other Europeans. However, it is now becoming more common for British children to stay at home until their late 20s or even longer. 25% of men aged between 20 and 29 now live with their parents, approximately double the proportion of women of the same age who are still at home. This is mainly because, on average, women get married when they are 2 years younger than men. Even more surprising is the fact that 10% of men and 5% of women are still living with their parents when they are in their early 30s. There are also changes in where young people live when they do move out. 20 years ago, most moved in with a partner, many of them buying a house together before they were married. Now, it is more common for them to live alone in a small rented flat or to share accommodation with friends. Why have these changes occurred? Firstly, house prices have risen dramatically, so that it is very difficult for young people to buy their own home. 20 years ago, the average house cost 3 times the average yearly income. Now, the average home is 5 times more than the average person earns in a year. Another reason is the high level of unemployment amongst young people in the UK at the moment, meaning that many 20-year-olds are either out of work or can only find poorly paid, temporary or part-time work. A third reason is that over the last 15 years, university students have had to borrow more and more money to pay for their studies. This has meant that they either save money by staying at home and attending a university nearby, or return home after finishing their studies.
One.
My name's Fiona, and I've got a big family with lots of cousins. I've got 10 first cousins, about 20 second cousins, and I don't know how many third cousins. We are very close as a family, and we often meet up to celebrate our birthdays. Sometimes there are about 40 of us, and we all get on brilliantly. I get on especially well with my Aunt Julie, and we always have a real laugh together. Well, I suppose I'm quite shy, and I've only got a few close friends. My best friend is called Alice. We got to know each other when we were classmates at primary school. I suppose we get on well together because we have similar interests and tastes. Well, we're both very sporty, and we love going out dancing together. Alice has got a boyfriend, Simon, and he sometimes comes along with us too. Well, Alice and I don't live in the same part of town, but we talk on the phone every day and meet up at least once a week. We can talk for hours and hours.
2.
My name's Toby, and I've got a small family with a few relations. I've only got a grandfather, 1 aunt and 2 cousins. We are not very close as a family and don't often all get together because my aunt and her family live down in London. I haven't got any brothers or sisters, and my parents and I often have rows about everything, so there's not a very good atmosphere at home. But I get on especially well with my grandpa, and we are fond of each other. I always go to see him every week. I've got a lot of virtual friends because I use the internet a lot, but I don't know many people in my area. My best friend is called Tim. We've known each other for years. We got to know each other when we were teammates in the football team at primary school. We were both about 10, I think. I suppose we get on well because we have a lot in common. Tim's got problems at home too, and we both like playing online computer games. We use Facebook to keep in touch, and we meet up every week or so. Tim is a really good friend.
3.
My name's Sally, and I've got a big family with a brother, a sister, 2 stepbrothers and a stepsister. It gets a bit complicated sometimes. My mum and my stepfather have been together since I was young, and we all get on well together, though I have a lot of rows with my sister. I get on especially well with my dad, and we are very close. We speak on the phone every day and go on holiday together. I've got lots of friends, and we all go out together every weekend. My boyfriend is called Graham, and we met 3 months ago. He lives in my area, but he goes to a different school. I suppose we get on well together because we have a similar sense of humour and we have the same interests too. We both like music and we often go to concerts together. We see each other every day after school and talk on Skype in the evenings as well. We usually go out together a couple of times a week. Graham's my first serious boyfriend and we're in love.
Hi, Joe. I haven't seen you for ages. What have you been doing recently?
Nothing interesting. I've been studying for my exams. And you, Steve?
I'm in love. I've met a lovely girl.
That's great. What does she do?
She's an artist. She studies photography in the arts school.
Wow. How did you meet?
She was taking photos for a project in the park, and I was passing by. She asked me to help her with the equipment because her team had gone home, and I fell in love. Look, this is her. I took this photo with my mobile.
Steve, this is Lucy, my old friend.
Really? Is she seeing anyone?
She's broken up with her boyfriend.
Oh, she gave me her phone number, but I was too shy to call.
Come on! She's probably waiting for your call.
Some interesting results from the latest UK census came out this week, and we have Dr. Simon Adams from Manchester University on the line to discuss them with us.
Good morning.
British family life has changed quite a bit over the last 10 years.
That's right. First, there has been an increase in the number of households. That means homes with people living in them. The number has gone up from 16 to 17 million.
Why is that?
Partly because of immigration. More people have come to Britain in the last 10 years and the population is going up. But it's also because more people are living on their own. About a third of British households have just one person. There are a lot of pensioners, widows and widowers on their own, but also a lot of younger and middle-aged people who are choosing to live on their own and not get married or live with another person.
That's interesting. So what's happening to the typical nuclear family? You know, a married couple and young children.
It's still very important. Now, nearly half of British people are married and 56% of British families have married parents with their own children. But that's down a lot from 30 years ago, when nearly 70% of people were married. Now, over 10% of couples with children are unmarried. They are cohabiting. In fact, the number of cohabiting couples increased by 2.3 million between 1996 and 2006. Nowadays, a lot of people don't feel it's so important to get married to live together and have children.
And divorce is more common too.
Definitely. People accept divorce a lot more than in the past, so step-families are more and more common. That's when parents remarry or live with someone else, so there are stepchildren and half-brothers and sisters in the family.
And what about single parents?
Families with one parent, usually the mother, are increasing too, by about 10% in the last 10 years. Now, about a quarter of British children live with one parent.
Are there any other important changes?
Yes. More and more adult children are living with their parents because of the price of housing and the economic situation. Now, 50% of men in their early 20s and 40% of women live at home. There are also more extended families.
What do you mean by that exactly?
Households with 3 generations. Grandparents, parents and children all living together in the same house. The number is small, only 75,000 families, but it's going up.
And there are fewer children too than in the past.
That's right. Years ago, the average number was 2.4 children, but now it's down to 1.8 per family, and fewer couples have children. 29% of homes have childless couples.
That's all very interesting, Dr. Adams. Thank you very much.
Not at all.
In this talk, we're going to look at children and young people in the UK and how they've changed in the last few years.
The first interesting trend to point out is that British young people are becoming better educated. For example, 54% of 19-year-olds have A-levels. Those are British qualifications to get into college or university. That figure is up by 2.5% from last year, though it is still lower than in many other European countries.
Unfortunately, though, there is a lot less work around for British young people. Unemployment among 16 to 24-year-olds has gone up to 21.9%. That means there are over 1 million under 25s without work.
Another area to comment on is health. Children and young people are starting to eat more healthily, and the proportion of children eating more than 5 portions of fruit and vegetables has gone up this year to 21%, which is good news.
However, there are more overweight British children than ever before. For example, the percentage of obese boys in the UK went up from 11% to 16% between 1995 and 2009. The amount of physical activity has gone down too, and children and young people are more sedentary than before. They spend more time sitting down and not moving around much. The most active group are 11 to 16-year-olds, but only 1 in 3 boys and a quarter of girls do an hour's exercise every day. That is the amount of exercise that doctors recommend to keep fit and healthy.
Another interesting area is use of communication technology. One of the main reasons for young people being more sedentary is the increased time spent in front of computers and online. British young people are among the most connected in the world, and 98.7% of them are internet users. The most popular online activity is social networking, and over 90% of young people do it regularly. At the same time, the number of hours spent watching TV is down. For example, British 12 to 16-year-olds spend 15.6 hours a week online and just over 17 hours watching the TV. A few years ago, TV was a lot more important.
So, to summarise, British children and young people are better educated and more connected than a few years ago.
However, they have less work than ever before and are more sedentary and overweight than they used to be.
So, that's it. Has anyone got any questions they'd like to ask?
Okay. So, dear the future me, I hope this letter has found its way to you/me. As I write this, I am 16, in year 11, and as I read it, I am 20. Wow, I will have changed so much, I can only guess what I'll be like at 20. I envisioned myself at Oxford Uni, sitting... Oh, this is embarrassing. Sitting under a tree by the river in the college grounds. I think I'll be wearing something floaty and a bit indie, but I bet when I get this, it'll be raining. I know, I'm a romantic. I hope that hasn't changed. And my plans for myself in the following years are to find a man, someone good-looking, romantic and intelligent who shares my interests. Either way, I hope I'll have someone. I don't remember this. And then I think I'll have 3 children with long brown hair and green eyes. Well, I'll stop now, even though I want to write everything I can down, but I'm running out of time. I hope I'm happy, and hope this letter makes me feel good about who I was, or am, as I write this. Keep smiling, and, well, I can't really say bye, but good luck for the future, and keep dreaming. Don't change too much, and be happy with who you are. I like who I am now more than any other time. Love, Laura.
And up next, it's time for Just Tell Me I'm Wrong. Today's topic, how young is too young? Or perhaps more accurately, how old is old enough? We've received hundreds of calls, emails and text messages about the right age for a child to do all sorts of things, like have a smartphone. In fact, our first caller asks about just that. His name is Ed. Go ahead. Ed, you're on.
Hi, my situation is that my 8-year-old kept asking for a smartphone, and eventually we bought her one a few months ago. Then last week I got a bill for over £200. I knew something like this would happen.
So basically you think she's too young for a phone?
Yeah, that's right.
Surely it's up to the parents to set guidelines.
So what you're saying is I should give her some rules?
Exactly. Right from the beginning. OK, thanks, Ed. Next caller is Julia. What's your question, Julia?
My question is about social networking sites. I don't let my daughter use them. She's only 10 and I'm worried about online bullying.
So, in other words, you're worried about kids being horrible to other kids.
Yeah, you hear so much about it nowadays.
That's a very good point. Online bullying is a serious problem, but isn't it better to talk it over with her? I'm sure they have lessons at school about how to stay safe online. She has to learn sometime.
So what you mean is I'm being overprotective?
To be honest, yes. And if you try and stop her, she'll only find a way to go onto a social networking site in secret. And if she ends up in a bullying situation and you haven't prepared her, that could be much worse.
Oh dear. Oh, I'm sure you're right, but it's not easy being a parent nowadays.
I agree. Thanks for your question, Julia. Let's go to our next caller. Dan, you're on.
Hi. My question's also about technology.
It seems like that's everyone's main worry. Anyway, go ahead, Dan.
Well, my son, Seth, he's 12, and up till recently he was a normal 12-year-old. You know, he used to go out with his friends, play football with me. You know, we had a great relationship.
So, Dan, basically I'm guessing he doesn't want to spend so much time with you now, and you feel a little bit...
Oh, no, it's not that. It's just that he spends all his time on the computer now.
Surely that's just normal nowadays.
It's hard to say. Sometimes, at the weekend, he spends all day in his bedroom on social networking sites or playing video games. I don't think it's right. I mean, for one thing, he never gets any exercise.
Don't you think it's just a stage he's going through? I used to spend hours in my bedroom listening to music when I was that age.
So, what you mean is I should just relax and let him get on with it?
Yeah, he'll grow out of it. And you can't force him to go and play football if he doesn't want to.
I guess not. Thanks.
OK, our next caller is Zara. You're on.
I was wondering how you would deal with a 13-year-old wanting to get pierced ears.
13 years old? Doesn't she simply want to be like her friends? I imagine a lot of them have pierced ears.
Well, that's it. I'm not talking about a she.
Oh, in other words, you're upset because your 13-year-old son wants to get his ears pierced.
That's right.
Ah, so it's because he's a boy rather than his age.
I suppose so.
Well, does he have friends who've got ears?
I'm going to speak against the statement employers should give preference to younger applicants when hiring. The first point I'd like to make is that selecting a person for a job on the basis of their age is unfair. It's as bad as choosing someone because of their gender or race or religion.
People should be selected for a job because of their abilities and suitability and not because they are a certain age. For example, if a 60-year-old person is able, physically and mentally, to do a job, they should be judged on the same basis as a 30-year-old.
I would like to speak in favour of the statement. I would like to start off by saying that I fully support equal opportunities for people applying for a job. However, I would like to pick up on the point made by Sarah when she said if a person is able physically and mentally to do a job. I think we need to be realistic here. As people age, this can affect their energy, their ability to react quickly, and their memory. In some jobs, it may be vital for people to have high levels of energy, for example, in a creative industry such as advertising. Or people need to be able to react quickly, for instance, if they're a lorry driver, or be able to concentrate for long periods of time if they're an airline pilot. It is simply a fact of life that as we age, our mental and physical capabilities deteriorate, and that for certain jobs, younger people are better.
One. I don't think there's any hard and fast rules, so for me, any time is the right time. I began when I was 6. But then again, I knew someone who started when they were almost 50, and she's still going strong. Now she's over 70. You're never too old. I suppose the key is how much time you have to practice and your motivation. My parents let me try out different instruments, and eventually I chose the violin. That's important too. I'm not sure my parents were too happy about my choice, though. They had to put up with years of me sounding like a dying cat.
2. I think there's actually a legal minimum age in some countries, something like 35. But in my opinion, it should be at least 50. Otherwise, you just don't have enough experience to do it. But then, of course, you have to strike a balance between maturity and energy. You need to be able to react quickly to events and survive sometimes on very little sleep. So, yes, someone in their 50s or maybe 60s could manage, but no older than that.
3.
I couldn't really give a number at all, since I can't state what's right for other people. I think it has to do with giving yourself enough time to get to know yourself and to understand your relationship together well enough so that neither of you will create an unhealthy environment for the child. Some people say there's never a right time, but I think there's definitely a wrong time, too soon.
4. Lots of people I know didn't know what they wanted to do with their life when they were 20, and they still don't know now they're over 40. But seriously, it's okay to decide young if you have a real vocation, you know. You've always wanted to be a doctor or an engineer or something like that. But most of us don't have much idea when we leave school. So I reckon the best idea is to try out lots of things to see what you enjoy and develop lots of general skills. That worked for me. Most companies need staff who can get on with other people and can communicate their ideas clearly, and who have reasonable computer skills and things like that.
1.
My sister Sarah was 7 when I was born, and my arrival was a big shock to her. Until then, she'd had a very close bond with Mum. But my birth was difficult, and both Mum and I were ill for a while afterwards. I was also underweight at birth, and Mum fussed over me for a long time. So my sister went from being an adored only child to an unnoticed child, and she was miserable. Later, when she was a teenager, Mum went back to work, and Sarah always had to take care of me after school instead of seeing her friends. I had no idea about any of this at the time. I just knew my sister wasn't nice to me. But since she left home, we have managed to talk, and we understand each other better. I think we're friends now.
2.
You've got my laptop charger. Give me that back. I've been looking for it for ages.
It's mine. I've had it for ages.
It isn't yours. It's got my name on it. Look.
That's not fair. You just wrote that on a minute ago.
I did not.
Yes, you did, you liar. Look, the pen is the same colour as the one you're doing your homework with now.
I can write my name on my things.
Not 5 minutes after taking it out of my room, you can't. It's bad enough that you're always borrowing my things without asking, but now you're just stealing them.
I am not. This was mine in the first place.
For the last time, it's mine.
3. So, how did you get on when you were growing up?
Isaac and I never got along when we were younger, did we, Isaac?
No, we didn't. I'm 2 years older, and you were determined to follow me everywhere I went.
Isaac was tall, strong and popular, and I always wanted to be like him. So yes, I followed him around a lot. I was always asking him to play with me, and he rarely said yes. When he had his friends over, I would think up ridiculous reasons to go into his room and interrupt them. He would get furious with me and push me out. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Sorry. But you were so annoying. I couldn't get rid of you. And it wasn't cool to have a little brother hanging around me and my friends.
You even bought a lock and put it on the door. Sometimes I would get mad and do something mean, like hide his school books or spill ink on his school shirt.
Oh dear. How did you feel, Isaac?
I didn't even realise.
All I wanted was for Isaac to spend some time with me.
How are things now?
Now that he's 18 and I'm 16, things are better.
They are. We get on well now, and he's almost as tall as me now.
Both photos show a group of teenagers. In the first photo, it looks as if they're in a living room. In the second photo, I can't be certain, but I think they're at a bowling alley. They must have gone there together for a game. The common theme is that the friends are not getting on well together. However, the two photos show different kinds of problems. In the first photo, two of the girls are excluding the third girl from their conversation. They seem to be sharing a private joke. The other girl probably feels left out. Judging by her expression, she isn't very happy about it. The second photo, on the other hand, shows an argument between the two boys. Arguments sometimes happen when you spend a lot of time with people. They aren't always serious. For example, in the second photo, it could be a fairly minor disagreement. One boy might have accused the other of cheating. I'm sure they'll forget about it later. I don't think arguing always causes problems, provided you get over it. But being unkind to your friends always damages a relationship. For example, the two girls who are whispering in the first photo are behaving unkindly. They can't have thought about the other girl's feelings at all.
1. My dad invited a colleague and his family to lunch one weekend. They had a son who was the same age as me, but we didn't exchange a word the whole time they were there. The next day, I saw him at school. I was with my friends and he was with his. Suddenly, he threw a ball that hit me in the eye. A full-blown fight broke out between the two groups, and someone went to get a teacher. While we were waiting outside the head teacher's office, we got talking and he said something that made me laugh. We've been great friends ever since.
2. I was in this drama group when a bunch of new people joined. This girl was one of them. It was pretty clear that I wasn't going to get a part in the next production, so as I had a load of other things to do, I left the group. Then I found out she'd got the leading role. Some time later, someone in the group told me it was her birthday. Surprisingly enough, I got an invitation. As it happened, I was the only person from the group to turn up on the day. We started to chat and discovered we had quite a lot in common, and that was the beginning of a wonderful friendship. 3.
It seems I've known my best friend forever, really. I can still remember the first time I saw him. It was Halloween, and everybody was dressed up, including me. I must have been about 4 years old at the time, so he would have been the same age. His mother was taking him around the houses doing trick or treat. Soon after that, our parents became friends, so we saw each other every afternoon. We went through primary and secondary school together, and now we know each other so well that people think we're brothers.
4. A new teacher made us all sit in alphabetical order, so that I was next to a girl that I'd never really spoken to before. I'd forgotten my pencil, so the girl lent me one of hers. When I went to give it back at the end of the day, I realised that I'd been chewing it, and it looked awful. I told her I'd give it back to her the next day. Then, after school, I bought a new pencil. Of course, she realised that it wasn't the pencil she'd lent me, and just laughed when I explained what had happened. From that day on, we always sat together in class, and we soon became best friends.